everybody. Welcome to another episode of Good, Bad, and Ugly about real estate with Jose. Got a good guest for you today, my friend Chris Drumm. Woo-hoo-hoo! Welcome to the episode, Chris. How you doing?
Good, buddy. Good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Me and Chris got a chance to know each other through a community in through the school platform called FunWise. So, Chris, why don't you share everybody your journey? How'd you start off thinking about getting into real estate and get to where you are today?
Sure. Appreciate that. Thanks so much again for having me. I've been a real estate funder, lender for about a year and a half, going on 2 years. Started 2023 ish, 2022, somewhere in that ballpark. I lost my position. Was employed with the same company for about 15 years. I get the dreaded email the night before. Hey, your VP, who you never talk to, wants to talk to you at 8 o'clock in the morning the next day. Like,
Right.
what is that about? So anyway, fast forward, looking for jobs, looking for jobs, looking for jobs, and the market's really tight. So finally decided, hey, I got to look at something, and um, looking at a bunch of different things online, and run across this guy who you might be familiar with, named Jamil Damji, and then another guy, his compatriot, uh, named Pace Morby. And looking into sub two, like, hey, that looks pretty interesting. And then I kind of diverted into this program called the Gator Method. Like, oh, that looks pretty interesting.
Right.
And that kind of brought me into the Gator Method, which is a really interesting way to um, work with people who are in real estate, but just kind of be real estate adjacent with that. I was in mortgage for a little while. I was in banking for a little while. So that's kind of an interesting segue into my next life. And so that's kind of where I went into there, and been loaning money to wholesalers and fix and flippers for the past about 2 years.
Gotcha. So, why lending? Why not? I mean, you mentioned Jamil, who's this whole basically wholesaler. You got Pace, who has all kinds of different strategies that he teaches, and Gator Method being one of his communities. So why did you choose lending? Because I mean, there's people out here that say, "Well, I don't have any money to lend." So why did you choose lending?
Yeah, it's a great point. I was looking into several different things. I actually did go down the Jerry Norton and Jamel Damji path of wholesaling, and I gave that the good college try. I did that for I would say over a year. I wrote a few contracts. I never closed anything, and it's just for me, it's respectful. It's a respectable living, and I just was unable to perform, and I decided that I was more capable of working in the lending space. That just kind of dovetailed into what I was more comfortable doing with banking and with mortgage.
Or your
So
background? Yeah.
that's just kind of what I was more comfortable with.
Ah, that makes perfect sense. So how in the real estate world, it's all about trying to protect yourself because there's so much things that can go wrong in a real estate transaction. A lot of people are not very familiar with the lending side. So, can you kind of share like what types of lending you do, and then how you protect yourself as a lender from that in case somebody ever wanted to get into that aspect of real estate?
Yeah, and that's a great question. You asked one previous that I just kind of danced around. I didn't do it intentionally. First of all, you don't have to have money to get started, and if you are a somebody who's interested in working as a lender in real estate, you just have to know how to find it. You need to be able to partner with people who have it. So working with the appropriate parties, and being able to protect yourself in the form of the appropriate contracts, joint venture agreements, those sort of things. That's what I would recommend that you do. So there's some knowledge, there's some confidence, there's some things that you certainly have to research and work around and work through. But other than that, that's uh, that's what you need to do. And to as far as working in the field itself, yeah, there are probably um, it's not a I wouldn't say saturated. It's a group of people that are interested in working to make a living, working to help others, and working to make a difference and um, make the money that they can while the investments are good. They vet the properties, they vet the people, and if it's not a good deal, they don't lend on the deal. So I mean, essentially, that's the process, and it's a it, there are chances that you're going to lose money, just like
Sure.
everything, right? So, crypto with stocks, with real estate, with pretty much everything, you can lose money, and I have. So it just good, bad, and the ugly. It's that's just how it works overall. But that's essentially where we're at, and that's why I chose it, and that's what we're doing. You have to move forward and separate personal from business, and I choose to look at it as this is a business transaction, and if somebody defaults, it's not because they didn't like me personally.
Sure. I mean, we all know that there's, you know, the ups and downs of everything, and we try to mitigate as much risk as we can. Trying to circle back on some of the questions is: would you lend in a first position, second position? Do you lend on EMD, double closes, gap funding? Some people call it an end buyer or just PML to the just so it can get to closing. So, can you kind of share with us the types of lending that you do?
Sure, sure, sure. I do not do gap or private money at this time. I've been burned a couple of times, so personally, I'm not doing that. If people ask me about it, I will see if I can put them in touch with some people. But I do have connections, so that's not an issue. We'll talk. We'll get in touch with some people that I do know and as a rule, um, position wise, earnest money, it's all transactional. So it's going to be earnest money, it'll be a double close, and a second lien seller carry. Those are generally the three things that I do
Okay.
in my repertoire. There may or may not be anything in the future, but at this point in time, it's transactional. So basically, in and out. Um, the longest term that I'm doing is basically 60 days, and that's usually for a business transaction,
Oh,
and
so
that's
you invest in that too?
yeah, that's going to be a an earnest money transaction for business, and that'll be 60 to maybe 90 days.
Okay.
That'll be a significant investment for the actual end buyer. So yes, I will do end buyer, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier. That particular person will be vetted a bit, make sure that there are certain HUDs or certain metrics that are required or asked of them.
Right.
Um, so that's kind of where we're at.
Gotcha. And I opened this episode sharing that we're both part of the same community. Um, One of the things that we do for EMD to make sure that we protect ourselves is making sure that we have both sides of that transaction, right? We have the buyer to the wholesaler, and then the wholesaler to the end buyer. Those contracts in place to make sure that the deal is going to close, so that our money is not at risk. What are some of the other things that you might do to try to mitigate the risk as a lender?
Yeah, particularly on the double close, that's one of the things that we will do is we'll make sure that there's an A to B contract and a B to C contract. If we're doing a wholesale contract, we would ensure that there is a purchase and sale agreement in place. And if they're assigning the contract, we would make sure that they would have the assignment of contract in place as well, which is similar to what we were just talking about with the A to B, B to C contract. And then we would make sure that the earnest money is protected from inception to close. So that's definitely something that we're looking for. What I like to tell my borrowers is to try to look at it from the perspective of, again, it's not your money, but you're going to be responsible for it ultimately.
Right.
So you're signing something that says it doesn't really matter whether it's your money or not. You're going to be responsible for it. So
Right.
if this goes belly up, you're paying me back. And I don't say it quite that rudely, but bottom line is you're on the hook for it. And knowing that, it kind of gives them the perspective of, oh, so it really is my money anyway.
Right.
So if you've got a 30 calendar day, um, just use that as this, right? 30 calendar day example here, and instead of doing a 10-day inspection period, what I would suggest to my end buyers is that they do a 14 or 15 business day inspection period, which essentially fills in all the gaps and covers the entirety of the 30 calendar day period. So that's my suggestion to my wholesale buyers, excuse me. And that's usually how we cover those gaps. So the money's covered and we move forward that way.
So recently, and I say recently, in the last over the weekend, I met four new gators, and so they're asking me, how do I find deals? So can you share with people how you do your lead generation to help people know that you're lending and fund deals?
Yeah, so one of the best ways to do it is to hang out with people like you, talk to people, talk to as many people as you can, because the more people that you talk to, the more people will know what you do. If you keep your mouth shut all the time, nobody's going to know what you do. I'm active on social media almost daily, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, uh, podcasts. I'm not like a star or anything, but I will go out and I'll talk to people. I've been on a couple of different podcasts, and I go to local meetups. This evening, I've got another one that I'm going to go to. And as a matter of fact, if the most business that I've gotten has been from local meetups. So I've heard the same basic excuses. The market's saturated.
Hmm.
Nobody wants EMD. Nobody needs me. Nobody. Well, that's fine. I appreciate where you're coming from.
Sure.
However, over the past, I would say, 2 months, I've had 5 or 6 requests just in the past couple of several weeks. Just kind of, I wouldn't say it's a flood, but the point is, if people know what you're doing, that's
Right.
more than I've had happen over the past year. So the point is, if people know you, like you, and trust you, they're going to do business with you. So if you sit on your hands and you complain about it, it's just not going to happen. It's not, one of those things. So yeah, go out, meet people, talk to them. Unfortunately, I'll be out of town for the summit, but there's Squad Up Summit coming up. If you are in any way, shape, or form able or capable to head to Squad Up Summit, go. Spend time there. Meet people. Engage with people.
Yeah.
That's my strong recommendation.
Well, I'll put a what do they call it, a plug in for Squad Up. So as a sub two student, as a Gator, as an owners club. To me, it's one of the best, if not the best, um, real estate conventions events of the year. You have multiple communities coming together. You have Paces, Sub Two Gator, Owners Club, TC. You'll have Jamil's Astro Flipping Team. You have Jerry Norton's um, students. I think Brett Daniels might even invite his people. I don't know for sure, but you have at least 3,000 or 3,500 um, investors all in one place, all looking to do deals, all looking to gain resources. There's no better meetup. It's about a 3 day event, and I can tell you that I still have long lasting friends from the one that which was its flagship or the first one of its kind last year that I still talk to this day.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
that's how great that is. And just another selfish plug there. I'll put that link if you want to go into the description so that you guys can get tickets while they last.
Absolutely, I strongly agree. And we had a not only a fantastic time, but I met. I couldn't tell you how many people that I met, but I still speak with. I don't at least five, if not 10 people that I met there last year.
Sure.
So it's fantastic. And one last thing and then we can move on. One last thing about going to meetups. This is a mind shift for me. Instead of going, I was intentional, right, to go to meetups. And I had this idea of, well, I'll go and I'll meet 10 people or 20 people and I'll give out my Blink, which is the electronic signature card, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't do the old fashioned paper cards any longer.
Right.
So I'll give out my Blink to 10, 20 people, and woohoo, that's great, that's wonderful. And that was my intent, that was my intention. So I heard somebody not that long ago, it was on a video of some sort, and it made me think differently. It was change your idea from doing that to meet one or two people at every event that you go to and make those people, the one or two, be people that you want to and do business with, want to talk to a year from now. Like,
Sure.
oh, how about that? That's serious intent. So,
For sure.
anyway,
Yeah. Intentional in your conversations. That's one of the things that I started. When I went last year, I think my goal was each day to have at least 50 new contacts in my Blink card. And I realized that I'd rather have more meaningful conversations with people when I'm there instead of saying, "Hey, what do you do? Oh, here, take my green card. I'll call you in a week." Right?
and how many times did that happen?
Yeah, I can tell you that I've set up right after your event. I would call people up, trying to get them to schedule a phone call with me, and it never manifested. Right? Not
Right.
for lack of effort. It's just some people just don't want to make the time. They say, "Oh yeah, I want to do this," but a lot of talk, a lot of action. So yeah, I truly support that kind of efforts of being more intentional in who you're contacting and who you're staying in touch with because you never know who you'll meet there. Like I said, I've got some friends from there that here I am almost a year later, and we still are finding ways to do more business together.
Agreed.
So the channel is called Good, Bad, and Ugly. Can you share a favorable story you had in your lending experience, and then maybe one that you wish you hadn't done and you learned a lot of lessons from?
I'll start with let me start negative.
Okay.
I'm not going to do PML for a while, private money lending for a while. Um, I've had two relatively, one bad experience and one maybe not so good experience that hasn't paid out yet. So I just decided I'm going to lay off. One person I had to foreclose on, and that was a very significant amount of money. Um, Nobody's fault, I suppose. I mean, I probably needed to do more diligence, probably needed to figure out more questions to ask. Um, I could have and should have uh, but done some other things differently.
Sure.
However, the information that I did have and the information that I did look up on my own to lend to this individual was favorable. And I think there's a saying that basically says it's all good until it isn't. And
Right.
he kind of fell into that category, and he was all good until it wasn't.
Right.
So I had to foreclose on him. There was an extra cost, and I'm still um, in discussions to get paid the remainder of what is owed to me. Um, and he's not hiding, which is good. And we're still in talks to figure that out. So that's kind of the bad and the ugly about that, and the private money piece, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
There's some other things, but I guess good, bad, and ugly all wrapped into one, I suppose. Um, Good is out of the multiple requests that I've gotten. I don't know. I would say over the past year and a half, I've probably been involved in 100 requests for money.
Sure.
The total number of of actual deals that turned out were, I don't know.
Three.
Yeah, I mean, I one, two, three, four, maybe five, and then there were three, three, three other deals that were as me as just a hand holding, uh, person, just kind of walking somebody through a deal, and just kind of got paid to do that. So that was kind of the good as well. So I mean, it's a good and the bad in that as well. So I mean, yes, I'm making money. That's the good. And then the I think the bad is and the ugly is that it's not what and not in a bad way, not in an awful way. So don't take this the wrong way, folks. It's not exactly what you think it is.
All right.
So don't go, oh, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to make $100,000 in 6 months. Yeah, sure, it's possible. Definitely is. It's possible. But you're going to do nothing but eat, sleep, breathe transactional lending, and that's all you're going to do. That's it. Now, there have been people that do this and do it quickly and make a lot of money quickly. Um, that was not me, and I'm at the point where over the past year or so, I'm going to break even from all of my expenses, which I think is actually a very good thing, including the loss that I was taking. So that's definitely a positive thing.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of where I'm at. Good, bad, and the ugly.
I appreciate that sharing. It's awesome. So, if somebody wanted to potentially, utilize your services, or they wanted to partner with you, how would they go about getting in touch with you?
Sure, sure. Appreciate you asking. It's quickemd.ifundwise.com. That would be for lending on the transactional side. And then if you want to just hit me up on Instagram, I think my profile. is Drumm, Drumm 5146. And then Facebook is just my first and last name, Christopher Drumm, with two M's.
Awesome. And don't worry, folks. As I always say, they'll be in the description below. So if you didn't get it, you can just look down there, click on it. So before we go, do you have any parting words of wisdom or nuggets you like to drop on the audience that you can share your wisdom and your experience with them?
I think the best thing that I can say to particularly new people is, like I said before, you don't expect things to be rosy because they're not necessarily going to be. They can be, but it's not necessarily going to be that way. The next group of people I'd like to shout out to are the people who've been working, but not knowing exactly the path that they're on. Choose a path, pick something, pick it for 90 days. If you want to try wholesaling, do it for 90 days. If you want to try transactional funding, choose it for 90 days. Pick EMD and just pick with it. Stick with it for 90 days and figure out how you're going to go and go to all the meetups that you can in your area in 90 days and within an hour's drive of you for 90 days. And then for those of you who've been around for a longer period of time, fantastic. Um, stick your neck out a little bit and jump on a podcast. Um, Help people in the best way that you can because those folks are going to be the ones who are able to help other people and help people buy stuff in a down economy. Doesn't matter who's in office, doesn't matter what your political persuasion is, it makes zero difference. If people aren't buying houses, the economy is going to be down because that translates into a bad economy because everything else is lagging. Manufacturing is lagging, appliances are lagging, Home Depot's lagging,
Hmm.
everything's bad. It's just that's how it works. So, for the good of the country, stick your neck out, help somebody if you can, and let's do this thing.
I love it, love it. Well, folks, I should say, well, fam, another episode of the Good, Bad, and Ugly. Christopher, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on. It was a great time having you on, and I look forward to continue working with you in the Funwise um, community, and hopefully we can find a deal we can work on together.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Talk to you soon, man.
Yep. Bye, fam. We'll see you next time.